I am Sonia Cato Howard, and I am with eWomen. I am partnering up with my business partner, Kimmy McNeese, and she and I are doing eWomen, a mentorship program. We also have a meetup program online every Tuesday, every first and third Tuesdays at 9 p.m. And then I am here every Wednesday night at 9 p.m., and Kimmy is on every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Tonight, I want to ask you, are you feeling guilty about surviving? A lot of people have had losses, loved ones who have died from sicknesses such as cancer, military people who have fought in wars and who have lost people that they've worked alongside. People have survived car accidents where their family members have not. There's all type of violence in the world today where people are being killed and they've lost loved ones. And then, of course, we have natural disasters. Some people have survived, storms and tornadoes and hurricanes. And then there's one more that I'm thinking about, and there are some people who have just been traumatized from things that have happened to them as a kid, and they're still going through it. PTSD is real. Survivor's guilt is real. And it's leaving people feeling not happy. I mean, happy is just not even the word. They can't move forward in life. They're living life bad. They're just existing. They feel like, why did they survive? That it should have been them instead of the other person, because the other person had so much more going for them in their lives. They don't feel like themselves. They don't look like themselves when they look in the mirror. And they're asking why. They're asking God why. Why would God allow something like this to happen? They're thinking that they could have done something more, that they should have done something more. I haven't personally dealt with surviving death in that sort of way. But I do know, being in the military and a person that is for military, there are so many people that are out there who are suffering from PTSD, and not just from the military. I do have a story I want to share. It's not a great story, but nevertheless, it's a story, and I think it's a topic that I wanted to talk about because people are suffering. This is a story that I got from Focus on the Family. It's about 10 years old, so I'm sure I'm going to get some of the facts wrong, but hopefully you will see how someone survived and moved forward in life. There was a guy, and he had a wife, and he had 4 kids, and they had just had a wonderful holiday at one of their parents' house, and it started storming, so they decided to leave and get ahead of the storm, and they were in a van. He had 4 kids. One kid had autism, and then all of his kids were actually adopted from other countries. And they decided to go, I guess, under the bridge. When you go under a bridge, drive under it. And before they got too far, the van got stuck. And it was, it couldn't drive anymore because the water had flooded the engine. So they couldn't go backwards. And so they were in the car, and the babies were crying, and so they decided to sing a song. They were Christian. They decided to sing a song to calm the babies down, and it worked. The babies calmed down, and they ended up going to sleep. And so the mom and the dad is discussing, what should they do. They didn't know if they could, trying to handle the babies, and then the son with autism, and be able to do it with all of that water. So they decided to wait it out. But unfortunately, the rain just kept growing. It kept pouring and pouring, and it rose above to the car level, and then Then it went higher than that. And before long, the baby's car seats were under the water. So the babies had drowned. And so the 7-year-old was still alive, and the mom and the husband was alive. So they decided that they were going to just go for it, because now the water was just all the way up in the car. So somehow they got the window down and they got out of the car. But the moment that they held on tight to each other, but the moment that they went through the car, went out of the car, they were separated. The wind, it was just like a river. You've seen it on TV where the rivers are just pushing the people down the stream. And so they were separated. The dad was caught onto a tree. He snagged onto a tree. And and as he was sitting there, he was telling the story. He was saying that he had no reason to live. It was no reason for him to live. And so he was going to decide, he had actually decided to go ahead and just open his mouth and let the water come in. And right when he decided to do that, someone grabbed him and pulled him out of the water. So he was pulled out, and he was, very traumatic. And he was saying, get my wife, get my daughter. Please save them. They said, okay, we're gonna go and look for him, but please, we need you to go to the ambulance. And so he didn't want to leave, but they made him leave. And of course, he didn't get any rest because he was waiting to hear from his wife and his daughter. Eventually, they came down and they told him that they had found his wife and daughter, but they did not make it. And so now this man was just devastated and just trying to figure out why in the world would God allow something like this to happen? Why? Why would he survive? His wife was a woman who loved the Lord, who did everything in her church, who volunteered, who was a great mom, and he just hated God, and he just did not know, and he didn't want to live. So the end of the story was that he did live. He did decide. He had to decide to live, and he ended up being on Focus of the Family because God had used him to create all of these different ministries for survivors, for people who were feeling guilty for surviving trauma, and how they could move forward in life, to help them move forward in life. And he had written a book, and he had just done a whole great deal of ministry. Unfortunately, it was 10 years ago, and I can't remember, and I searched everywhere before I talked about this so that I could figure out who the guy was. But there are tons of survival ministries out there for people who have survived and who are going through this survival's guilt. So if you Google it, you should be able to find it. I wanted to tell that story because sometimes you have to choose. You have to decide that you want to live. PTSD is real. Survivor's guilt is real. And it's okay. It's okay for you to feel, for you to express how you feel. It's okay for you to grieve the person. It's normal for you to grieve the person that you love. But you need to get some help. You need to see a therapist. You need to go to a support group where there are other survivors who are surviving, who are trying to live and fight. You need to get your feelings out. Maybe you have a friend that you can talk to, who can relate to what you're going through, or just be a good ear to listen to. Maybe you can journal to get your thoughts out. You do need to stay away from negative people. You do need to stay away, because there are tons of things also out there on the internet about depression and suicide. So you do want to watch what you look up. I also want to encourage you to do positive talk to yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You need to read something positive, pray, fake it until you feel it. Say it to yourself until you feel it. Say that you are strong. You will survive this. You can get past this. You can live a normal life. There's a reason why you survived. There's a reason why God wanted you to survive. You need to figure out what that is. And figure out, maybe you can help somebody else. But don't get stuck. some things we'll never know why. So you can't get stuck into asking why, all the time. But God pulled you out for a reason. He's there with you now. He was there with you then. So I encourage you to talk to the Lord, because He does care for you. God is still for you. I suggest that you count your blessings. You're still breathing. If you're in America, you're free. Hopefully you have family members who still love you. You can still love someone. You can still be a good friend. You can serve others. You can tell your story and empower others and help them to see that, they too can get out. But you want to live your life and enjoy your life. Don't just exist. Find your purpose. Find the purpose of you surviving and figure out how to make this world a better place. What can you do to help others? When I think about, there are so many military ministries out there for, even if it's not a ministry, people that have survived that are helping other vets who were in war. I know for cancer survivors, they have so many things where they create wigs, and they do the march, and they donate hair. There are tons of nonprofits out there that are there because somebody survived something, and so they decided to do something about it. Start your own movement. What is it that's about it that's making you passionate after you get your healing? Help somebody else. I can't neglect to say that this may take some time. It's okay if you have some days that are dark, but I want to encourage you that God is with you. And I want to encourage you to talk to Him. Don't stay where you are in this place of blaming yourself. Get some help. It's a process. You're going to have to go through this process of grief. And trust God. Trust Him. And just hold on to Him with all your might. Like I said, I don't know anybody personally, but I do have a couple of friends. It didn't happen to me personally, but I do have a couple of friends who lost their wives, and they went through that process of just blaming themselves and asking God, why did God leave them? Why didn't God take them? But the good news is today they're doing well. They're doing well. They're remarried. They're living their life. They've moved forward. And so I want to encourage you that you can too. If it's not for you, I would like for you to forward it to someone who it can encourage, because there is so much help out there now. Thanks again for listening to my message. I hope that you will share it with someone who needs to hear it and like it. And again, catch my girl Kimmy tomorrow night on Thursday at 9 p.m. and every first and third Tuesdays, eWomen Meetup online. Thanks again for watching.